The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, guys, this is my immediate aftermath, my immediate aftermath video for Vergil Ortiz versus Lubin. And for me, it wasn't a question of if. I never believed for half of a millisecond that Lubin was going to beat Vergil Ortiz. I don't trust his durability. I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. And he had a chance to put me wrong tonight, and he did not do that. So, and what's crazy is Vergil Ortiz didn't just beat Lubin. He made him like look like a CD class fighter. Like, got him out of there in 2 rounds. Michael McKinson, who had like 2 knockouts in his career in like 25 fights, he lasted longer, much longer than Lubin did against Vergil Ortiz. So make sure y'all put some respect on Michael McKinson's name. So there's not really a whole lot to dissect. Lubin was who we thought he was. He's a good fighter who's seen some better days, but the wars with guys like Fundora and just the guy he's fought over the years, they have taken their toll. And that's 0 for 3 in the big fights. So hey, God bless him. I respect him for stepping up to the plate and always taking on the best fighters in the division. But he's just not what a lot of you guys acted like he was. A lot of people were trying to, shove the Lubin Kool-Aid down my throat in the build up to this fight. And it's like, nah, man, you guys can't talk to me about Lubin. Like, I'm really from Florida. Like, I know about Lubin. I can tell you it's about his whole career frontwards and backwards. He's a good fighter, but Vergil Ortiz is on a different level, and he showed it tonight. So, that's what I'll say about that fight. But listen, it's your boy BT. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Shout out to all 20 of you guys here. Make sure y'all run it up so that this live gets pushed out to as many people as possible. Definitely, subscribe if you're new here. Definitely super chat. If you guys want to donate to the channel, the Cash App is there. Money is signed Jessica from Dania, and the PayPal is there. True School Sports 2012 at gmail.com. So I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the love that I get on all these lives. But lots to discuss. We finally got Vergil Ortiz and Jaron Ennis in the boxing ring face to face. Lot of talking going on. Vergil called them in. Boots said he's gonna make him pay. So we'll get into all that here in a second. But before I get into that and just talk about Boots and Vergil, let me take some time to acknowledge the fine folks that are already here and making their presence known. Shout out to my boy Mooney's Gamble. Says, I remember you were disappointed when this fight was signed and people were saying you were tripping, and it turns out you were right. No, like, look, I was hoping it would be a good fight. I was hoping Lubin would come here and really like have the fight of his life and take it to Vergil Ortiz and maybe even prove me wrong, because I love when fighters are not expected to win and they have a night where they put it together. But I'm sorry, man. Like, Lubin, I'm from Florida. Like, he's from Orlando. I'm from South Florida. I've been hearing about Lubin for like well over 10 years, and people in the Florida boxing community hype him up to no end. And he's a good fighter, but he's never, in my opinion, quite been good as advertised. So it was shown again. He had a chance to rewrite the narrative, and he couldn't do it. And I thought it was impressive. I thought Vergil Ortiz to stop him that way on his feet, he didn't even know where he was at, and it was very crafty the way he went about it. He shot a jab, and then he pivoted around him. He stepped to the side of him, and then landed the right hand, and he cut the lights off like FPNL, like Con Edison. He cut the lights off. So, at the end of the day, Vergil Ortiz is a blend of size, finishing ability, fundamentals, volume. It was too much for him. So, I'm not too shocked, but a lot of people were shocked, but not BT, not good old BT. Vergil Ortiz may have just retired Lubin, quite possibly. I don't know how he comes back from that. Was I entertained? Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it wasn't like the greatest night in boxing, but it wasn't the worst night either. It was cool. I was hoping for the fight to go some rounds, and I was hoping for Lubin to keep the fight in the center of the ring and really make Vergil have to work, because Lubin does have a good jab. Lubin can box. I was hoping for him to like make Vergil get into a square position and exploit that, but he couldn't do it. And you know what? I'm not sure if he's here in the chat yet, but shout out to my boy Hyro. Hyro told me, he said, BT, everyone's talking about this fight like it's this great fight, but really, BT, you know what this fight is? this fight is a glorified version of Floyd Schofield versus Tevin Farmer. And you know what? He's not wrong. Like, that's literally what it was. It was a more experienced fighter who people thought had something for the younger guy from Texas, and he got stopped in 2 rounds. So not really a great fight. Disappointed. Even me, like I thought Lubin would get stopped late. He got stopped really early. So his durability was even worse than I thought it was. But enough of that. We don't want to talk too much about Lubin and Vergil because it was what it was. It was what I thought it was. Boots and Vergil finally got in the ring, and they definitely went ahead and they were going back and forth. Boots, Vergil was calling out Boots because Boots, this goes back some years. This is not a new rivalry. This has been bubbling up for quite some time. And I remember going live talking about this. I remember going live talking about this a lot, back 3 years ago. These have been 2 of the best young fighters in and around the weight class for a long time. I wouldn't classify them as young fighters anymore. These are guys that are now stepping into their prime. This is one of the best fights that happen in boxing, particularly for American boxing. These are 2 American fighters that can actually sell tickets in their hometown at a high level. And it was great to see them in the ring. And I felt like it felt like a big fight. Like, you had Boots, who started the night off by going on Twitter and saying that he wasn't going to make the fight because basically there was a government shutdown, and he was going to miss the fight. And he trolled everybody. He showed up to the Dickies Arena with Eddie Hearn, and then he went to the ring and he said, "Look, I'm the best fighter in the world. I'm gonna destroy you. I'm gonna show you that I am who I say I am." Because right now the narrative of Jaron Ennis is that he has a lot of talent. He has all the skills in the world, but he ain't fought no one. He ain't fought nobody. Like, his career has been as padded as can be, and he needs to show what he can do in a truly tough fight. And then as for Vergil Ortiz has been a guy that has fought, very good fighters. He fought the Boachuks and the Madrimovs, and now you can add a Lubin to that list. But he's had chances to become a world champion and fight for the world title. And Golden Boy has moved funny. They moved very, very funny. So, there's questions about him. And, after the Boachuk fight, people started to say that Vergil Ortiz wasn't the goods. And it's actually, this performance against Lubin is the best thing to happen to his career, because people are forgetting, like, listen, there's a reason why Vergil Ortiz has been linked to fighting Jaron Ennis. And it's because, much like Jaron Ennis, he's a problem himself. He's one of the best fighters in and around these weights his damn self. And people forgot about that because, let's be real. Deep down inside, people don't really class Madrimov that highly. And you can tell by how I talk about Vergil, because Vergil beat Madrimov pretty clearly, and they don't really give him credit for that. They thought a lot of people, myself included, thought he lost to Boachuk. So they forgot that this is the man that got one of the best power jabs in the business. They forgot that this is a man that is a world-class finisher when he gets you hurt. They forgot a lot of things about Vergil Ortiz, and he had to remind y'all, because a lot of people were sold on Erickson Lubin coming in here tonight and ruining the plans of Vergil Ortiz. But nope, no siree. And I liked what I saw. I don't want to be like the body language expert, because I feel like we have a lot of those in boxing. But this fight game is psychological. Most of this fight game is psychological, right? So I like the energy that I saw from Vergil Ortiz. Like, Boots was doing a whole lot of hooting and hollering, and Vergil was like, "Look, man, do you have a yes for me? Do you have a yes for me?" He was just very stern, very to the point, and I liked what I saw from him. And as for Jaron Ennis, I'm glad he showed up. I'm glad he got to the arena. I'm glad that he gave the fans and the fight game something to talk about, because we need this fight. But the boxing game needs this fight. I think American boxing needs this fight. And really and truthfully, I'm hoping that this fight can be a fight that happens in America. My biggest concern for this fight is that the American fight fans don't get this fight, because as we know, everything in America, not just in boxing, but sports, entertainment, even with the comedians and other sectors of the entertainment industry, everything's being outsourced to Saudi Arabia, right? And this is a fight that I feel like this does not need Saudi Arabia. This isn't Shakur Stevenson, who can't sell tickets. These are 2 fighters that can actually sell tickets in their hometowns, that are exciting to watch. most of the time when they fight, like 90% of the time when they fight. These are two TV fan-friendly fighters, highly skillful, pound for pound, potential type guys. And I think these guys need to go ahead and make this fight happen. Right now, as we know, at 154, Xander Zayas is about to unify Abbas Barrow. So two of the champions are busy right now. Bakram, none of these guys really want to fight Bakram because the risk ain't worth the reward. Supposedly, Bakram is gonna go ahead and fight Josh Kelly, presumably. And then you got Sebastian Fundora, a guy that's gonna really, who has his own things going on right now. So right now, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I or you guys can see, this is in fact the best matchup at 154 for these guys in their careers. And I think for the last, I think the first time I ever talked about Boots versus Vergil was probably like 2021, maybe even 2020. We've been talking about this fight here on True School Sports for like 4 or 5 years, and I'm gonna give you guys my word right now, because it's a very important fight for boxing. It's a very important fight for the boxing community. It's a very important fight for the boxing culture. What I'll tell you guys is this: as long as this fight happens on American soil and not Saudi, I will be there. If it happens in Saudi, then I will not be there. But if it's on American soil, I don't care if it's in Vegas, New York, Philly, South Florida, wherever it's at. I'll be there for this one. It was good to see. It was really good to see. But anyway, shout out to everybody here. Make sure you smash that like button. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. True School After Dark, the immediate reaction of Lubin versus Ortiz. Somebody asked me, do I think that Eric's Lubin is damaged goods? Yes, that's what I was trying to tell you guys the whole way coming into this fight when it first got signed. And everybody tried to tell me, no, BT, Eric's Lubin is this. No, BT, Eric's Lubin is that. And I'm like, nah, he's not what you guys think he is. And it pisses me off, right? Because I know fighters who have won multiple world titles in multiple weight classes that don't get as much credit as Eric Lubin. It's like, what are you guys giving him all this credit for? He's a good fighter, but you're doing too much. Hey BT, nice to see you. I think there should be a title for Ennis Ortiz. Even an IBO title will be better than nothing. Well, Boots, if I'm not mistaken, Boots has an IBO title. I'm pretty sure he won it when he fought Lima. So put that on the line. Listen, there are fights, guys. There are fights that sometimes don't need a world title. Not every fight in boxing that's big needs a world title. Ryan Garcia and Tank was a massive fight for boxing. It transcended boxing. People who don't even give a fuck about boxing watched Ryan Garcia versus Tank, and they didn't fight for no world title. So there's plenty of examples of that. These guys, like you're talking about Jaron Ennis, right? The fighting pride of Philadelphia, probably one of the only Black American fighters who could really sell, who could do 10, 15,000 in an arena in his hometown. Not many fighters, not just Black Americans, just Americans, period. Not just Black Americans, but Americans, period. There's probably less than 10 American fighters, whether they black, white, yellow, orange, magenta, that could do 10 to 15,000 in the arena. He's got a real fan base. He's got a fan base that's like really rallied behind him in Philadelphia. And I think if this fight is done in Vegas, I think you will get a lot of people from Philadelphia that come out to watch, Jaron Ennis in Vegas. And as for Vergil Ortiz, I've been to Vergil Ortiz fight in Texas before. He can sell tickets too, and Vegas and Texas ain't that far from each other. So look, man, this is a fight that sells itself, in my opinion. You get fights every now and then that sell themselves. These guys aren't great trash talkers. We saw that. They did the best they could. And I give Boots and Vergil effort for getting in the ring and talking and really bringing that energy and trying to get the fight fans something to talk about. But yeah, talking ain't the thing. These guys are two amazing fighters. So hopefully it gets done next. 2026 is going to be another good year for boxing. Boots and Vergil, Shakur and Teo. Yeah, man. Listen, there's always good fights. There's always good fights in boxing. He did beat Adriel Holmes, I remember. Yeah, but I mean, okay, I'm not trying to be that guy that says who's who, but like Adriel Holmes is if you're a guy at Lubin's level, like it took him 11 rounds to get him out of there. I feel like that's a guy you get out. You're supposed to get out of there a little earlier. That was a red flag to me. Don't forget, BT, Boots versus Vergil is an interim unification in boxing. I don't put no stock into those high road. Those don't mean anything. Oscar will fuck up this fight. Just watch. Listen, I'm not listening. If it happens, cool. If it doesn't, it is what it is. Like, I have a very pessimistic attitude when it comes to big fights in boxing these days. If Turkey Al Sheikh isn't involved, because it's just how it goes these days in boxing. We'll see what happens. I'm not ruling out, guys. I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm probably the first person to say this in boxing media. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? But if this fight breaks down, I guarantee you that Jaron Ennis winds up fighting Pavel Soslin. Pavel Soslin. I'm not sure how to say his name. He's the number 2. I think he's number 2 ranked WBA contender, 12-0. That's the guy he's gonna fight. That's someone he's gonna go ahead and fight. And maybe Vergil can go. Maybe Vergil will fight. I don't know who will fight, but I could definitely see these guys not fighting next. I could definitely see the talks break down, and it is what it is. Now, a lot of people are saying like, oh, well, as far as who do I think wins the fight, I've gone back and forth many times. It's one of those fights I'm gonna go back and forth about 20 more times, because to me, it's one of those fights. I feel like I could see somebody pass a victory for Vergil. I could see a lot pass a victory for Boots. They're both great fighters. I want to see it happen, and I hope this fight gets done properly. I hope this fight gets done in a proper fashion. Like, I want this fight to have as much promotion as possible. I would like this fight to be in Las Vegas. And if not Las Vegas, maybe like Chicago, because Chicago's kind of in the middle. That's one thing. I know when they go to negotiate this fight, they may say like, you know what? Well, Vegas is too close to Texas, so Vergil's going to have the home court advantage. But then if you say like, okay, we'll do it in New York, well, New York's too close to Philly, so then Boots would have home court advantage. So I feel like, you know what? If they can't come to an agreement on Vegas or New York, I feel like they should do it in Chicago. I feel like that, Golden Boy just did a show with Kenneth Sims and Oscar Duarte. I feel like they should do it in Chicago. It's in the middle of the country, big market, great city, very big Black population, very big Mexican population. I think it would do great. I think it would do amazing business in Chicago, but more than likely it probably goes to Saudi Arabia, because if you guys remember last year around this time, Turkey Al Sheikh was trying to get this fight to happen, and Boots said, nah, I want to do some tune-up fights. So that's when, the fight, he turned it down, and that's how he eventually wound up getting to Usima Lima. So we shall see. We shall see how it goes. Hold on, I missed a comment. Pam Maroon says, I'm not sure what you're doing, BT, but you're looking fresh, happy, and rested. Yeah, man, I'm just trying to keep things very simple in life. Sometimes in life you try to do too much in one day, and you get overwhelmed and you get anxiety sometimes. So that's me. I want to conquer the world in one day, but that's not how it works. You got to do things like a little bit at a time. Make sure you rest. Make sure you drink your water. Make sure you pray. Make sure you thank the Lord for air in your lungs, roof over your head, and just walk in gratitude. So that's what we're doing, champ. Good to see you. Hope all is well. A few pundits and the zone heads have talked about getting a belts first. Chris Algieri is one of them. Well, listen, I love Chris Algieri. He's a friend of the program. I've been knowing Chris since his fighting days. Since I covered Chris Algieri versus Earl Spence. I got the credential right over here on the wall. But he's wrong. Like, I love Chris Algieri. This ain't one of them fights. Vergil got a fan base. Boots got a fan base. People want to see this fight. It's been talked about for years. They both come from big markets. Philadelphia. Dallas, Texas. There's a lot of promotional things you can do being from two great cities like Philadelphia and Dallas, Texas. So just as long as Golden Boy and Matchroom and all parties involved put all their leg room into promoting this fight, it'll be all right. Vergil didn't sell tickets tonight. Well, I don't know about that. I wasn't there. I just know from the past when I went to Vergil fights, he sold tickets. At least we're getting the fights. Good to see you, champ. No, like, Boots knocks the meat out of his taco. I mean, pause. But it's possible, man. What breaking the fight down, right? Early breakdown of the fight. Early preliminary breakdown of Boots versus Vergil, because this is going to be one of them fights. The way we talk about Norman versus Haney, it's going to be one of those kind of fights that I get really excited about. There's a lot of advantages for Boots. I can see a lot of advantages for Boots. I mean, I think Boots, because Vergil's a high guard fighter, and Vergil sometimes has this habit of punching himself into a square position. Boots is going to have a chance to exploit that with his athleticism and his switching abilities. So I think, the important thing when you fight a guy like Vergil Ortiz is two things. Number one, you have to be able to neutralize his physical strength. You can't allow Vergil to push you back. That was a big thing for Lubin coming into this fight tonight. I had an argument with a guy on Twitter, and he was trying to tell me that I didn't know anything about boxing because I was telling him that, like, Lubin is not consistent enough with his jab or with his footwork to neutralize Vergil using his physical strength to push him back to the ropes or anything like that. And he was trying to tell me, like, I didn't know anything about boxing, and then I had to check him right quick. I had to tell him I had to tell him, you talking to the untouchable, man. You can't talk to me like that, right? But I think when you fight a guy like Vergil Ortiz, you have to, as much as humanly possible, prevent him from getting downhill on you. Kind of like basketball, kind of like Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook if Russell Westbrook comes up off a pick and roll, you can't let Russell Westbrook get downhill on you. Otherwise, you're playing his game. You're playing, how he wants to play. Same thing with Vergil. You can't let him get downhill on you, and you gotta find a way to make him hold his ground. And if you can, make him push him back. And when he throws that right hand or throws any of his power punches and throws himself into a square position, you have to have the ability to hold your feet in the pocket, not be fazed by what's coming at you, and then make sure you throw something back at him, right? And then oh, damn. My bad. My bad. Jesus. Hold on, God. Hold on. What the fuck? Ooh. They're trying to kill me, man. They're trying to get me beat. They're trying to stop the untouchable from being great, but it's okay. The show goes on. Now, what I was saying is, Vergil's a high guard fighter, right? So when you get a high guard fighter, if you can prevent him from getting downhill on you, then I think that allowed Jaron Ennis to control the tempo of the fight with his jab, with his angles. I think one thing Boots does very well in close quarters is he pivots, right? So he can pivot around Vergil, make him reset. Those are like some things I see he could exploit. As far as Vergil, one thing about Boots is Boots relies a lot on his reflexes. And Boots is an apex predator. He likes to fight in the pocket. He likes to be flashy in the pocket, and sometimes it gets him in trouble. Now, Boots has been very fortunate because in his career, for the most part, he hasn't fought fighters that could match him in terms of punching power or physicality. And I don't think when it comes to physicality, I don't think that's going to be an issue with Vergil Ortiz. If he's in close quarters and he's able to do anything with Boots, if he's able to get in that range with Boots, I think he could have a lot of success. I also think that Vergil Ortiz's power jab continues to become it's very underrated. And I also think Vergil Ortiz is a more athletic fighter than people realize. And Erickson Lubin found that out tonight in a very, very major way. He doesn't get the reputation for being an athletic fighter because, he's Mexican American and people just see him walk forward in the high guard, right? They see these things from Vergil Ortiz and they automatically say, well, you know what? No, Vergil has a flat-footed, traditional Mexican style, and that's not the case. He can angle off to the side. He does have a versatile punch selection, and if you're not careful, he's a very, very compact puncher, and you could be this close to Vergil Ortiz, and then he'll cut the lights off on you. So I think for Boots' number one concern going into the fight for me is his defense. It's got to be his defense. I don't think he's a terrible defensive fighter. I just think sometimes he becomes a bit lazy in there. But who knows? So many times with fighters, if they know that they're far superior to their opponents, they don't really have their senses all the way up. They're not as tight defensively as they could be. So with Erickson Lubin, I feel like that's the case. I feel like with him, not Erickson Lubin, I mean with Vergil or with Jaron Ennis, I should say, that's the case. He's going to be fighting a guy who's not afraid to throw punches, who's going to throw from different, angles, who's going to, be very, very responsible himself when he fights you. I think it's going to be a great fight. I really do. I really do. Yeah, they trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me, man. I don't know what happened there, but it is what it is. I was choking like the Blue Jays. I was choking like Connor McDavid in the Stanley Cup final. I was choking. They said that's what happens when you get old, bro. You randomly start coughing and choking. No, we're not getting old, champ. We're not getting old. That's what I'm saying. Like I think what makes the fight so interesting, right? And you brought up a good point. The first step. Boots is an explosive fighter, but I think one thing that Boots and his team are going to have to worry about neutralizing from Vergil is his explosive first step. Because if you don't do that, if you don't take that away from him, if you don't dictate the rhythm of the fight, you're going to allow Vergil Ortiz to get downhill on you and push you back to the ropes and get physical and then start throwing them real short, compact shots like he was doing to Lubin there. And you don't want that. You don't want that. And mind you, Jaron Ennis hasn't he's been hurt. Like he got hurt when he was a club show fighter against this fighter named Sosa. But other than that, he hasn't like people have seen him get clipped, but he hasn't really fought many guys his size or big punchers. But people have been questioning his chin because of what happened early in his career with Sosa. Some of these fights where he's getting clipped, and then the fact that one of his brothers, I think it was Derek Ennis, he got stopped when he was fighting. So maybe a lot of people anticipate that maybe a chin or a lack thereof could be hereditary. But you know what? Vergil is equally as vulnerable as is just as vulnerable, if not more vulnerable than Boots. We saw in the Boachuk fight, Boachuk didn't necessarily he didn't have Vergil ready to get knocked out, but he was able to land a couple flash knockdowns because Boachuk has that long, rangy, educated Eastern European style. So when Vergil would get downhill on him and misgauge his distance, boom, he's come right down the middle. So I think another key for Boots going into that fight is going to be timing with his straight punches. So it's a real good fight, man. It's one of them fights. Shout out to you, Rico P. Good to see you, champ. I don't think Vergil will be able to cut off the ring against Boots. I think Vergil can crack Boots, but I think Boots will give Ortiz fits with his footwork and constantly forcing Vergil to have to reset. We shall see, man. I don't think I think Vergil can cut the ring off on Boots because I've seen Vergil cut the ring off plenty of times. If anything, people talk often about fighters that can't cut the ring off. Between these two fighters, I've only seen one fighter have a hard time cutting the ring off, and the name Vergil. What if, guys? What if Vergil flipped the script? What if Vergil started doing his Karen impression? What if Vergil started doing his Karen Chukajan impression on Boots? Then what? Who knows? You never know what could happen. But I think it's going to be a fight that I don't see Boots getting on his toes in boxing for a prolonged period of time. I think Boots, it's in his nature. Like one thing you got to know about these Philly fighters are like Mexican fighters. Philly fighters are like the Japanese fighters. Like Japanese fighters, Mexican fighters, Philly fighters, they all have the same type of temperament in the boxing ring. They want all the smoke. They want to fight. They're not going into the box. And if you hit them one time, they immediately want to go to war with you. So I think what's going to wind up happening is I think maybe for like a round and a half, 2 rounds, Boots will try to box, will get on his toes. And inevitably, Vergil will hit him with something, a real subtle shot, just a real subtle thudding shot. And Boots is going to want to fight and bang and prove that he is the superior fighter in the ring, the alpha male. So, yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be one of them fights. I think the Kavaluskas win has aged well for Vergil too. A lot of people thought Mean Machine just beat the Sissoko guy. He knocked him out the ring and got robbed. Yeah, and he's fighting soon. He's fighting a Spanish guy. He's fighting Samuel Molina. That's his next fight. I think Molina's like number 15 in one of the sanctioning bodies. So that being said, yeah, Kavaluskis, good win. Uh, Lubin, good win. A lot of people picking Lubin. Madrimov, in most people's eyes, a very good win. So we shall see. But the thing is, I'm consistent. As much as Vergil has fought better guys, it counts for a little bit. But ultimately, Kavaluskis, Lubin, all these guys been fighting. They're not Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis is on a different level. He's on a different level than those guys. He's better than those guys. Dude, Boots dropped Karen in both fights and beat him convincingly in both fights. The criticism becomes because he didn't knock him out. Not over here. Not over here. I don't criticize Boots because he didn't knock him out. I criticize Boots because Boots looked basic and regular in that fight, and he couldn't consistently cut the ring off on Karen. That's my issue with him. That's my issue with Boots in the Karen fights. I don't think a lot of people have been disrespecting Vergil Ortiz, acting like he's so far beneath Jaron Ennis, and it's not one of them fights. This is a truly great fight, guys. This is two of the best fighters. If you want to favor Boots and say, hey, this is a 60-40 fight or 55-45, cool. But I've been seeing people, especially Philadelphia, I've been seeing people say like, this is 80-20, 90-10. Vergil don't got no skills. Vergil don't got this. I'll say this right now. I know for a fact that if Jaron Ennis fought Erickson Lubin, even next, he wouldn't stop Erickson Lubin in 2 rounds. Straight up. What if Vergil gets rid of Boots early? Oh my God. If Vergil got listen, in the fight game, anything could happen. I don't think that will happen, but you never know. Vergil Ortiz is a very compact puncher, and if Boots hangs in that pocket and has a miscalculation, we saw Lubin. We saw it tonight. Lubin. I swear to God, I watched so many breakdowns of this fight. I watched like Boxing Gems' breakdown. I watched a lot of people's comments about this fight, and everyone made it sound like, like Vergil Ortiz, like Vergil was the underdog. Like, no. The better fighter is Vergil Ortiz. If you watch the film and you know what you're watching, the better fighter is Vergil Ortiz. I said this on my last live, and I'll say it again. Erickson Lubin is one of those. I was comparing him to NBA players. He's one of them guys that can get to the paint. He's one of those guys that has a nice 15-foot jumper, but when it comes to shooting beyond the 3-point line, he don't have a consistent 3-point jumper. He's not a 3-level scorer. All right, he looks like he could be a 3-level scorer, like a Carmelo Anthony, like a Kevin Durant, but he don't have that consistent 3-point jumper. And what he lacked was durability. He's got a jab. He's got ring IQ. He's got speed. He can punch with both hands, but he don't got the durability. And yes, guys, durability is something you need to win in boxing, unfortunately. He said, "My bad. I love your channel, by the way." How many rounds did Karen? And thank you, by the way. By the way, guys, if you ever hear me going crazy and I seem like I'm going nuts, I love everybody. Like I get real passionate about boxing. So if you're here watching, I appreciate all the support. How many rounds did Karen win in both fights combined? So I thought in both fights combined, I gave Karen Boots. Boots won both fights. I'm not saying like he got robbed or anything like that. I think he was just very fortunate that Karen didn't have punching power, So like my thing is like, what if a fighter with punching power fights like Karen and actually can land some of those same shots? Obviously, it's hard to replicate Karen's footwork because he comes from the Eastern European school of boxing, which they have a certain rhythm. I've seen a lot of these Eastern Europeans and Central Asians spar in the gym, and they move differently, they talk differently, the language is different, everything of the music they like is different, everything is different. So I mean, you can't replicate it, but you can mimic it a little bit. I think the best way to beat Boots Ennis, believe it or not, is actually to box him. I think it's great, but I need to study up the differences between Imantas Stanionis and Vergil. That come forward style seems to be up Boots' alley. Oh man, listen. If a lot of people keep comparing, they keep comparing Boots or they keep comparing Stanionis to to Vergil Ortiz, and I really don't get it. Like I don't understand it. I don't think they're anything close to the same. The only thing that's similar about them is that they both like to fight out of the high guard. When it comes to punch selection, when it comes to what they're both trying to accomplish in that ring and how they go about it, they're different fighters. You know, Stanionis is a guy that he's a straight line, cement-footed, you know, Eastern European fighter who likes to overwhelm you with physical strength and close the gap on you. Vergil Ortiz is not that. Vergil Ortiz is a compact puncher with deceptive athletic ability, and he has different types of jabs. If you go back and you watch the Madrimov fight, there are many times where Vergil was boxing with his lead hand down low, and you know, sometimes throwing an up jab, you know, jab down the middle. So you don't really see Stanionis do those things. Vergil's lead hand is more educated than Stanionis. His footwork is more diverse than Stanionis. He throws at a higher output than Stanionis. He throws at different speeds than Stanionis. Stanionis is a good fighter. I like Stanionis. I'm not saying he's not a good fighter. He's a very good fighter, but he's not Vergil Ortiz. And if Vergil didn't get rhabdomyosis, Vergil would have folded him. They aren't the same. It's the pressure more so I'm speaking about too. Villa was also pressure, and how did that end? No, but see, Villa is pressure. So look here. I'm gonna try to demonstrate to you guys. So Villa's pressure, right? So if Villa is a pressure fighter, Villa is a straight, he's a straight line pressure fighter. Like he's gonna get in his high guard, right? He's gonna get in his high guard, and he's gonna come forward like this, right? So when you get a guy in the high guard and he's just coming forward like this, the fighter who's more athletic that can move could just pivot and turn around him, right? But see, with Vergil Ortiz, he knows how to cut off the ring. So when Boots tries to get around him, he's gonna take those short little subtle steps to the right or the left, right? And then when they get in close quarters, when they get in the pocket, Vergil may throw an uppercut, step out to the side, and then he just does more things. Like his feet got more dimensions. His feet are more educated. You can't compare Romain Villa, who doesn't even have he's a good fighter as far as his left hook, as far as uppercut, his body attack, his volume. But Romain Villa, guys, he is so basic compared to Vergil Ortiz. And Stanionis is a level above. He's like 2 levels above Villa, but even him, he's not. No, Vergil Ortiz does a lot more in that ring than them guys. So I feel like when you compare what those guys can do compared to Vergil, it's not the same. Eric Lubin, I don't want to compare him to Boots. I think Boots is significantly better than Eric Lubin. Eric Lubin, there is some styles, there are some comparisons, but Eric Lubin, he don't I don't want to say he's not cement footed, but he likes to hold his feet. So Lubin has athleticism, right? That you could say, okay, if he wanted to, he probably could box, but that's not in his nature. Lubin's temperament is he's trying to seek and destroy. That's what he came into the pros doing. That's why he was one of the most hyped up young fighters in America when he turned pro. So generally speaking, Eric Lubin's temperament is to hold his feet and power box you and wait for you to make a mistake and then beat the shit out of you, right? Jaron Ennis he's more athletic than Lubin, right? Jaron Ennis, I think. Let me see. Does he punch harder than Lubin? I'm actually not sure if he punches hard. I'll say Boots punches a little bit. No, I don't know. Does he punch harder than Lubin? Their power is about the same. Their power is about the same to me. I feel like they both get the knockouts in a similar fashion. They both got to put them together. They both place their shots very well. But no, Boots all the way around the board. Boots is a better fighter than Eric Lubin. Boots ain't gonna be there to be hit. He has more than enough power to keep Vergil from going downhill. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. If Boots gets on his toes and boxes, doesn't mean that the ring won't get cut off. We saw Lubin tonight, which I reiterate, and I want to make this abundantly clear. Lubin is not as good as Jaron Ennis. We know this. But he was boxing well in spots, and that shit got shut down real quickly. You know what I'm saying? Stop the cap. When has a Latino ever beat an African elite boxer in their prime? Roberto Duran versus Sugar Ray Leonard won. There's an example. Via's pressure is different. BT got it straightforward, but not bullying and framing. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can pressure a guy because there's guys that pressure you and they come forward and then they have to wait to get all the way to the opponent's body to get to work. And then there's guys that pressure you with their lead hand, like a Golovkin or like a Beterbiev or even like a Vergil Ortiz. They'll pressure you with that lead hand and how they probe, bibble, how they probe. They're putting that mental pressure on you. So you may be athletic, you might try to escape, but that lead hand is on you. It's probing. It's, they're moving the head side to side, so you're not really sure where they're at, and you got to make sure that when you throw a punch that they don't get underneath the shot, because if they're doing this and they get underneath the shot, and then boom, all of a sudden you get countered, and now you're like, what the fuck? Where am I at? So, it's different types of pressures. And I think you can't label, like, it's not fair to label pressure fighters the same. And it's not fair to even label athletic fighters the same. There's different types of pressure in boxing. There's different types of ways to be athletic, No, for sure. Like, I would encourage everybody, because, boxing is such a great sport. It's such an amazing sport. And even though people will say, like, oh, well, what's so nuanced about boxing? Like, it's just two guys punching each other in the face. No, there's so many details in the simplest things in boxing that you will never ever learn the whole fight game. Nobody, you will be learning about boxing until the day you die. Sometimes, like, God has blessed me immensely, through this journey covering boxing. I've been able to travel a lot around America and be around a lot of great fighters and great coaches. And, I learned a lot. Like, I learned a lot from different coaches, like been around guys like Miguel Leo, Sugar Hill Stewart, John David Jackson, Derek Santos, Jeff Poritz, most recently, Virgil Hunter, Jeff Riel, and the list goes on. Just a lot of great coaches I've been in. I got to see in the gym, like, work with their fighters and stuff. And it's like you learn something new from every coach, So you'll never stop learning, no matter how much you think you know about boxing and fighters. Different guys will come along and you'll learn new things about boxing. So yeah, for sure, definitely keep learning, as I'm always learning. If you say so. If you say so. Vergil Ortiz's team is bringing up Errol Spence as an option. Get the fuck. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. That's terrible. I mean, look, obviously we know Errol Spence is a bigger name than Jaron Ennis, but come on, man. Like, let's be real. Like, Errol Spence ain't serious about boxing no more. Every time one of Errol Spence's own fans get on social media and they say, Errol, when you come back, Errol, we want to see you fight. Because listen, one thing about Errol Spence is he's got a loyal fan base. They love Errol Spence. But every time one of his fans asks him about coming back, he's always got a cop of attitude and he don't want to fight no more. And I don't blame him. He's made a lot of money. He lives a very good life. Why come back? You had a great career, made a lot of money. Hyro says, I learned from you, but you always learn from me. I learn from everybody. I learn from you. I learn from the thing about boxing is you can learn from anybody. Like, sometimes you could talk to someone that doesn't watch it or as much as you, and you could actually learn from casuals. I've been learning boxing from casuals. I learned boxing from the casuals, from the OGs, from the fighters, to the trainers, to the trolls, to everything. It's always learning. BT, what decade has the best fighters? That's a great question. What decade has the best? That's tough. Every decade has great fighters. I mean, the 80s is pretty damn good. You had the Four Kings and all that stuff. Best fighters? I don't know, man. That's hard. I'll probably say I like the 80s fighters a lot, so I'll probably say them because they had Salvador, they had the Four Kings. I like the 90s a lot, but that's one of them things where I gotta like sit there and write it. I gotta write down like, okay, the 10 best fighters from the 30s, the 40s, you know. And the thing is, there's so many great fighters from like the 50s and the 60s. Like talk about them old guys like Tony Zale and Rocky Graciano and them kind of guys. Like Benavidez versus Andre. Yeah, I mean, people like, I mean, people make boxing very racial, and they like, oh well, you know, Latino fighters never beat Black American fighters, which is not true because you just named the fight right there. And Demetrius Andre was undefeated. I mean, I wouldn't say it was his prime, in my opinion, but he was undefeated, and no one was trying to fight him. And to be honest, people shit on Andre so much because they say he never fought anybody. So did he really have a prime if he didn't fight anybody? I mean, who knows? C. Miller says, what up, BT and Fight Fam? Man, Vergil is a bad man, a dangerous man. He's very, very dangerous. And to me, it's like, I've always been high on Vergil. I've been frustrated with Vergil recently because I feel like just if I could be ever so truthful and if I could be ever so blunt about how I think he's been being moved, I feel like Golden Boy recently has been acting like some hoes when it comes to moving his career. Like they act like they can't fight Bakram. They try to strong arm Xander and dictate shit to the champion, which I thought was really, really, you know, corny. But you know, hey, they got Lubin in there. It produced a great result. People are gonna his stocks up again. And if they get this Boots fight, then hey, it's good management on their part, you know, and that's part of managing in boxing. Sometimes when you manage a fighter and you're moving a fighter, you're gonna have to do things that people don't like and deal with criticism, you know. So we'll see how it goes for him. I'm asking because some people think Terence Crawford would have had a hard time with the Four Kings era. They say Durant would have given Crawford a tougher fight than Canelo, which is laughable. I don't know, man. Canelo didn't really like. Canelo didn't like. I thought, you know, my dumbass picked Canelo to win. I thought, and it's crazy because if you go back and you look at the video archive history of this channel, I'm a massive Terence Crawford fan. You know, so my dumbass thought that Canelo would make it close enough for them to rob Terence Crawford. And the crazy thing is, you know, them scorecards are kind of close. But I don't know, man. I feel like Durant could give Crawford a tougher fight than Canelo for sure. He's better than Canelo. He's more skillful than Canelo. As far as Crawford fighting the other Four Kings, let me see. The other Four Kings, shit, that would have been crazy. The fight I think probably would have given Crawford the hardest time out of all the Four Kings would probably be Tommy Hearns, just because of the range and the fact that, you know, if you look at like even the Sean Porter fight, even though Sean Porter is not a long rangey guy, Sean Porter had a lot of success against Terence Crawford because of his athleticism and because he was boxing Terence. And it took Terence some time to get to Sean Porter. So imagine a guy who's a master boxer at like 6'2", who could really, really keep you on the end of that jab. I think Tommy Hearns would have had something serious with Terence. But yeah, that would have been crazy. Durant is better than Canelo. He is. He's definitely better than Canelo. Are you crazy? Come on, man. And listen, this live ain't about Canelo. I don't want to make this because, like, you guys know, for those of you who've been watching me through the years, you guys know I have a long checker history of shitting on Canelo Alvarez, right? I think, you know, he's obviously a great fighter, but, you know, I think people overrate where he stands in history. And Roberto Duran's way better than Canelo. Are you crazy? Roberto Duran beat Sugar Ray Leonard. Roberto Duran. Nah, you crazy. Roberto Duran is that guy. When is Vergil Ortiz gonna fight for a belt? If Boots whoops his ass, he might not. Listen, I don't think Boots or Vergil are really concerned with fighting for a belt. And technically, Afro Jam, if Boots and Vergil fight each other, the IBO title will be on the line. So technically, they are fighting for a belt, just not a belt of any relevance. Vergil's rhabdo has been a big factor. 2 cans, then they needed to cool him off after 2 wars. I think after Boa and Madrimov, he's had the toughest fights out of any Nobel fighters. I don't mind the Lubin. Yeah, for a guy who hasn't fought for a world title, he's fought. Listen, like I like Xander. I'm a Xander Zayas fan. Like South Florida, Davey Powell, all that blase. Like I like Xander Zayas, but I'm not biased. Like he's fought tougher competition than Xander, and he's not even a champion. So um, I don't want to sit here and act like I like the Lubin fight. When it got made, I told you guys what I thought about that fight. I was very, very adamant about it. I got criticized from a lot of people. They were saying that I was being disrespectful, that I didn't know what I was talking about. Lubin's got all these skills. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. Lubin's got skills, but skills weren't going to be the reason he lost the fight. That's what I'm saying. Like Canelo Alvarez, you can't sit here and say Canelo Alvarez is better than Duran. Every time Canelo fought, creme de la creme fighters, he lost. Crawford, Bivol, Floyd, like he lost. And the funny thing is, he wouldn't even have fought Bivol if Bivol wasn't looking. If Bivol, because let's call a spade a spade. Two of the fights Bivol had before he fought Canelo were Umar Salamov and Craig Richards, the Spider, right? And he looked regular. He was winning, but he looked regular, and he wasn't knocking nothing out. So Canelo thought that Bivol was something sweet until he found out he wasn't anything sweet. That Bivol is really a master boxer, and he found out. Xander versus Boots, big room, MSG, Puerto Rican Day Prayer Weekend. Big fight. That's great. Listen, I'll tell you right now. I think Xander. A lot of you don't think highly of Xander, which is fine. Everybody has their opinions. There's already a lot of interest from Madison Square Garden to do that fight. I think Xander, if the Boots fight was presented, or if Boots and Vergil breaks down and they don't want to fight, I think Xander will fight Boots. Straight up, I do. Yeah, I mean today was this week was a good week for me. I mean, I picked Tiger Johnson in a fight where a lot of people were picking Nicholas Flaus. I picked Vergil in a fight where a lot of people were picking Lubin. So it was a good week for me. But I didn't think it'd be in 2 rounds. I thought it would go some rounds. I was thinking somewhere between 7 to 10. But statement. Does Xander get past Abbas Bro? I like Bro. I honestly think these guys should fight, win or lose or draw. I think he's gonna beat Abbas Bro. Abbas Bro is a good fighter. I feel like Abbas Bro. I think Xander's fought guys with his style. Like, if you go back and look at his career, look at guys like Jose Luis Sanchez or Elias Espada. These guys were, come forward volume punchers. Not quite the same as Abbas Bro, but the experience, in my opinion, is good enough to deal with that style. And I think he'll deal with that style just fine. Hyro says, but you got Joseph Parker wrong. I did. Thanks to Howard Foster, but I'm not really mad about that. I'm not as mad about that one because that was bullshit. That's just nostalgia and respect for and respect for the old heads talking. Canelo would have knocked Duran out if they fought. Man, Canelo Alvarez couldn't even knock out Jermell Charlo. He ain't knocking out no damn Roberto Duran. And that's not nostalgia. Roberto Duran is a bad. Listen, I'm not one of these people. Like, if a fighter from back in the day was overrated, I would tell you. Roberto Duran is not one of them. Roy Jones Jr. exposed. Not a good trainer. Is he half committed to it? So you know what? On that note, guys, I think it's a good opportunity to talk about the undercard because Roy Jones Jr. trained a fighter. I forgot his name. A guy from Sweden, 14-2. He was fighting Amari Jones. Amari Jones, young prospect, middleweight, 23 years old. I was out there in the Bay Area. I saw Amari Jones quite a lot in camp. He's a good fighter. So I was very intrigued because he's a guy that's going to be a name in this middleweight division. No, I don't think Roy's a bad trainer. I think Roy doesn't really have. I mean, he does now because he has Ian Green, but other than Ian Green, Roy Jones don't really have like great talent to work with. Like if you look at the guys he's trained or is training right now, the Swedish guy tonight, Kevin Newman, like these guys are not guys that can go all the way. He's got Ian Green now, so I think there's hope for Roy Jones as a trainer because he finally has a talent to work with. But I'm not gonna dog Roy Jones Jr. for losing tonight. Shady Gilmore, yeah, Shady Gilmore, thank you. Yeah, like look, Slava Spoomer, good fighter, but Slava Spoomer again, that's not like he's a good European level fighter, French world level guy. That's not a guy that's gonna do anything too crazy at the world level. Like a fighter and a trainer both got to be good. You know, it can't just be one or the other. You know, a trainer can be great, but he could only do but so much if you don't have the talent to work with. What happened to that New York fighter Roy Jones Jr. was training that you had on your channel? You're talking about James Crunch Time Wilkins. Yeah, he didn't really like. He hasn't really moved. He hasn't really done anything in his career. He had a fight like a month or so ago. He fought Giorgio Bisoli, the British kid, the one that beat up Carmelo in sparring apparently, and he lost a wide points decision to him like a month or two ago. You know, James doesn't have the footwork. He works very hard, got a good attitude, but just doesn't have the footwork or the power to really cut it at the next level. But that's just. Listen, it's hard. Listen, boxing is so hard, guys. If people really knew how hard boxing was, like there's a lot of great athletes that get into boxing and they don't make it because it's so hard. There's so many great fighters. No, Roy, from what I know, because I know Ian Green. Like he just started training with Roy Jones Jr. So I get a first hand account of what goes on. And he's a committed trainer. He's a committed trainer. Robert Garcia has 19 world champions. He's the best current trainer. He's lapping. Is Robert Garcia? He's one of the best trainers. I don't know if he's the best trainer because I don't know, man. Robert Garcia, good trainer, a very good trainer, a great trainer. But I feel like Robert gets a lot of guys that were already built by someone else. I feel like to me, a great trainer is a guy that can do two things. I judge trainers on two things. Number one, you know, can you build a fighter from the ground up and make them a world champion or pound fighter? And number two, when your fighters getting their ass whooped, can you as a trainer help the fighter make the adjustments to win? So, you know, that's the thing. I've seen it in a lot of fights with Robert Garcia fighters. I've noticed that when his fighters lose, like when they can't come downhill on you and they can't fight that pressure style, they have a hard time. They got a real hard time, straight up. Like they can't make those adjustments. Like look at Giovanni Santillan against Brian Norman Jr. That's a great example. Like got beat the fuck up. There's a bunch of other examples too I could give you. Even Vergil with Boachuk. Like Vergil had a hard time getting downhill on Boachuk consistently. Couldn't really. He had a hard time making adjustments in that fight. And there's more examples I could give, but I'm blanking out right now. You know. That's what I'm saying. Like a great trainer helps his fighter be adaptable. Stop BT. He has Bam and Vergil and made Rio champ and has 19 world champions and Mikey Garcia. But are you sure he really made all those guys? Are you really sure Robert made all those guys? Now he may have been in the gym with them, but that don't mean he made them. Because if you really know your history. A lot of them guys you named, like Mikey Garcia, for example, it wasn't Robert that built those guys. It was the dad. It was Robert Sr. that built them, you know, straight up. And I'm not trying to say Robert Garcia is not a great trainer because he is, but like you're making it sound like he built all those guys from the ground up, and he didn't. He built up some of those guys from the ground up, so that does make a great trainer, but he didn't build up all them guys, you know. By the way, shout out to my main man, 50 grand, Coach Malachi Williams, True Media Podcast. Make sure you guys go subscribe to my guy, Coach Malachi. He does a great job. Runs one of the best live shows in boxing today. You know, I don't really watch a lot of channels because most of these channels is trash and don't know anything about boxing and really couldn't tell you a left hook from a fish hook and aren't entertained to listen to, and I don't learn anything from them. But, you know, Coach Malachi, he does his thing. So make sure you guys go ahead and Go check him out. To be fair, zero trainers build ground up, or if they do, they only have one or two. Well, one or two. Look, I don't. People always say, well, it's only one or two, because guys, the amount of effort it takes to build one fighter from the ground up, a lot of y'all wouldn't know the half of it. It's insane. Like everything from like just like the fundamentals of boxing to nutrition to just the training regimen, like and the psychology of the fighter. Like there's a lot that goes into building a fighter. You know, I've been blessed over the years because I've seen it with Angelo Leo. I'm seeing it like now with other fighters that I know. It's a lot. So for me, like just my personal opinion when it comes to the whole like best trainer in boxing thing, give me the trainer that doesn't have 50 world champions, but give me the trainer that built 2 or 3 guys from scratch and made them world champion, and I'll say that guy is the best trainer in boxing. You know, the dad, what the fuck, they're in the same house. Well, okay, it doesn't matter though. You said Robert Garcia is the best trainer, and I'm telling you that some of them guys you named were not Robert Garcia, you know, the son. They weren't built by him. So that's all I'm trying to say. I like Robert. He's a good dude, you know. I like his niece, but like Robert Garcia hasn't built all them guys. That's all I'm saying. Rene Santiago versus Kasuke Takama. Who do you got? That's a good fight. Fuck. I'm going with Santiago. I think I'm not sold on Takama yet. A lot of people have this misconception about BT. They feel like, you know, because I've been to Japan 3 times, that, you know, because I know a lot of Japanese fighters, you know, they feel like, because I got like Inoue and Kenshiro on my wall. They feel like, you know what, BT, you think every fighter from Japan is great, which is not true. There's a lot of fighters from Japan that I think are overrated, and one of them is Takami. And this is the fight where he's had to prove to me that he's not overrated. So I'm gonna go with Santiago by upset. I know Takami probably a favorite, but I can't really put too much stock into Takami beating Eric Mini Pac-Man Rosa. Pac-Man Rosa don't got no punching power. Nah. I don't. I'm not saying he's not a great trainer, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. Listen, some of the best trainers in boxing that I've seen with my own eyes are not big names. They're not even like, if you like they're not even big names, not on Twitter. But there are some trainers that I know for a fact that are just as good as Robert Garcia, and they don't got 19 world champions. Bam and Vergil turned pro and went to Robert and became top dogs. Well, Vergil's original coach wound up dying. Like, if you probably don't even know who Vergil's original coach is, but that was the guy that really, if you want to keep it a spade, that really built Vergil. That gave him that gave him the style that he currently has. Not Robert, but you don't want to have that discussion because you don't know. But I'll give Robert Bam. And you know what? The fact that he helped build Bam, that's enough right there. How about Brian Oman's coach, Brian Oman Sr.? I think Brian Oman Sr. is a great trainer. In fact, I know he's a great trainer because I've seen him work in the gym with Junior, and you see the progression of Junior's career. You've seen like what Junior became in the pros and becoming champion and the different knockouts he got and different setups he got. No, he's one of the best trainers I've ever been around. You know, like and just to name you guys the coaches that I've been around in my time in boxing, you know, like Miguel Leo, Angelo's dad, Luis Chavez, Brian Oman Sr., Sugar Hill Stewart, John David Jackson, Vergil Hunter, Stacy McKinley, and the list goes on and on and on. There's a lot of guys, a lot of coaches. I can't even think of them all. It's a lot. Oh, Oglesby, that's the ball-headed dude, right? I'll be honest with you. I don't know a ton about him, so you might have to put me on game. I mean, if he's part of the camp, and he's part of Granite City Boxing and all those guys down there, then yeah, if he's helped Brian Oman, then yeah, you got to give him his credit. That's probably what he's gonna do. I think he's been ranked in the IBF now. And guys, we listen. Vergil and Boots, they did a great job building the fight up, like talking shit to each other. But they're not really talkers, so they didn't give us a whole lot to go off of. Vergil only gave us 2 rounds to go off of. So we reached that stage of the live where I'm talking about whatever y'all asking me, straight up. I think Tiger's gonna go that route, and if that Tiger Johnson shows up, he could beat Louis Crocker. Yeah, I didn't know his name. I didn't know Byron's name. Like Byron is I saw him in the gym with Norman, and that whole team, they're all good boxing minds, I feel. Miguel Leo is a great trainer. It's funny, I'm gonna tell you guys a story here, because one thing about Miguel, he's low key. He don't like being in front of the cameras. I mean, he'll do interviews with me because me and him are really close. But he's not one of those guys that likes to be in front of the camera. He don't want no glory. He don't want nobody bothering him. But I'm gonna tell you how good of a trainer Miguel Leo is and how smart of a boxing mind he is. I remember one time, he's told me this story many times. Because for those of you who don't know, Angelo Leo and Miguel Leo, they're from New Mexico, but they lived in LA for a long time. When Angelo was a kid and when Angelo was in school, they lived in LA for a while. So they did a lot of sparring. When Angelo was in high school, they did a lot of sparring at Wild Card Boxing Gym. They used to live in North Hollywood, and they used to always cross paths with the Benavidez family, like Jose Benavidez Sr. and Jose Benavidez Jr. and Dave Benavidez. So this is back in the day when Dave Benavidez was fat. When Dave Benavidez, was just a fat kid around the gym. And this is back in the day when Jose Benavidez, because back in the day, people thought Jose Benavidez was better than his brother. In fact, everyone swore to God that Jose Benavidez was going to be a superstar in boxing and that he was much better than David. But Miguel told Jose Benavidez that no, David is the one. He's the one from your sons that's going to really be top class in boxing. And he said that shit years ago. So that's the boxing mind you're dealing with when we talk about Miguel Leo, But I digress. Yeah, you really have to know more than Bam to get what I mean. Bam is not his only champion. No, Robert's got a truckload of champions. He's one of the most prestigious gyms in the sport. He's one of the top guys. Who would you have on Seiya versus Junto? You think they'd ever fight? Because I remember an interview where Seiya said he wanted more skill before fighting Junto. That was right here on True School Sports, the home of Japanese boxing in America. I don't think they're ever going to fight. I would favor Junto. I think Junto will beat Seiya, but that'd be a hell of a fight. Seiya ain't no punk. Seiya's going to throw a lot of punches, shift, be difficult. It will be a very tough out for Junto, in my opinion. Training trash is the mark of a good trainer. I mean, shit, yeah. Wally Moses, another one. Wally Moses, another great trainer who doesn't get a lot of headlines. What do you think of Amari Jones? He and Haney don't follow each other on Instagram anymore. Is there any beef? What I think about Amari? I like Amari. I was in the Bay Area. I can't speak on it too much because I signed a non-disclosure agreement with Vergil Hunter's gym, so I don't want to get sued. But Amari Jones is I had a chance to watch him do some high level sparring, and I think he's a good fighter. I think they need to be patient though. I don't think that Golden Boy or Rick Marigan should have him fighting for a title or anything close to it for another 5 fights. I think he's got some things, like he can punch, he can box, but there's still some things I see he needs to work on. But he's very polished. He did what he was supposed to do tonight with the guy at that level. And yeah, good boxer, good feet. Boxer just like Devin. As far as them having beef, I don't know anything about that. I don't see why they would have beef because they're very alike. In terms of how they box, clothes they wear, all that type of stuff. So I don't know. It's not my business. Tiger might have to fight Paro or Donovan before Crocker. Well, those are good fights. And my thing is this: if you're truly worth the goods, if you're worth being a champion, then you beat the guys you're supposed to beat. A lot of times, people have problems with these guys like Xander Zayas and these champions who become champion because they say, "Oh, well, they haven't fought no one, right?" But they beat who they're supposed to. So Tiger's good enough; he'll beat who he's supposed to get the shot and win. But I like Amari. getting back to Amari Jones, I like him, but I think the main thing I'm seeing from Amari, like from the main thing I'm seeing that I think he needs to improve on is his inside game. You know, he's one of these guys that likes to fight behind his jab. You know, he likes to be in control. He likes to be the outside boxer, commanding the distance. He doesn't look the most comfortable to me when the gap gets closed on him. So I think that's probably like why I think he needs to improve. I think Manny Robles, Rudy Hernandez, and Joel Diaz get some of their shine taken because Robert Garcia, being California Mexican, he takes that limelight as the demographic of training. There's a lot of great Mexican American trainers. Like you just named them, a lot of them. Manny Robles, Rudy Hernandez, Joel Diaz, Miguel Leo. These are all Abel Sanchez. Like, these are all guys that have done enough to get their shine in the sport of boxing. But yeah, Robert's the guy. He's got a lot of talent. And Robert's a blessed individual. Because Robert's a manager too. And in my opinion, like, he's a great trainer. I think he's a better manager than he's a trainer. He's got a great relationship with Top Rank because he's a Top Rank fighter, and whatnot. And I think Robert does a great job of putting his guys in fights that they look good in, on the way to the title. That a big part of why Robert Garcia has got 19 world champions is because Robert Garcia is just as good, if not even better, of a manager than he is a trainer, and that's a compliment. So I would say that. If you know anything about boxing, then you know RGBA is by far the best gym in the world. I mean, it's a great gym. I never had the opportunity to go there, but I know a lot of coaches down there, like Sam Garcia, Chepe. I think that's his name. Him. I know a lot of people that work out of that gym. I just haven't had a chance to go there myself, but it's got a reputation for a reason. But to sit here and say it's definitively the best gym, I mean, there's great gyms everywhere. There's great work everywhere. Ohashi gym is a great gym in Japan. Top Rank gym is great. But of course, when you mention the great boxing gyms in the sport, RGBA has to be one of the first 3 to 5 out your mouth. Otherwise, you don't know shit. Is PBC working together? We saw Lubin versus Ortiz, now Ryan versus Mario. Is PBC and Golden Boy working together? They have to. They have to. If they want to deliver any fight to the American market, they have to, because Turki Al Sheikh has subverted the entire sport, and these promoters have to work with each other, so they have to. RGBA is a factory, but it is true they do not train a defense or backward style. He's the best at educated pressure, though. They're very, very good. They're very, very good at what they teach, but don't expect anything outside of that. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's my retort. I'm not trying to say Robert's not a great trainer, because he is, but like when his fighters lose, they lose, and they all lose in a similar fashion, to a similar style. Do you have your Tubi account ready for next week? No, I don't. I gotta get it. I gotta go ahead and get it set up. I mean, look, the Diaz trainers. I mean, I would say out of all the Mexican American trainers that have been named in this little soliloquy that we're in, I feel like I'll probably class them last. But they've had their moments for sure. But shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. Make sure you guys smash that like button. It is, in fact, True School After Dark, everybody's favorite late night boxing program. And listen, guys, this live has been brought to you in part by our unofficial sponsor, Big Baby. Tell them who our sponsors are, champ.
Vienna sausage, cinnamon buns, Wonder Bread, Kool-Aid with no motherfucking sugar.
There you go. Shout out to Kool-Aid with no motherfucking sugar. But yeah, Afro Jam wants to know, what's my opinion on Mark Ramsey? Now, look, I never had the honor to go to Canada. I've never seen Mark work out of the gym, but I mean, well, he had Jean Pascal. Did he have Better BF? I think Better BF. Yeah, he had Better BF, Jean Pascal. Who else? All of Mark Ramsey's fighters, like I noticed, like what all his fighters, they're all like real strong guys, like big strong guys. He doesn't have a lot of, like, if you look at the style of fighter that Mark Ramsey typically trains, it's not like it's not gonna really be like finesse guys or anything like that. Big strong guys. Can you answer my question? If 6ix9ine would be a good boxing manager of a box, would he be good for boxing as a manager or a boxing promoter? I mean, he could be a good boxing promoter for Brand Risk Promotions. That's about it. Let me see. We're like an hour and 15 minutes in, so we'll go about 15 to 20 more minutes because I have to get out of here. You know, I don't want to make this live too long because I'll probably go live again later on today. But get your questions in. You know, Boots and Vergil face to face. Who you guys favoring so far? Who do you guys think won the early body language exchange? And if you got any other questions about boxing, any thoughts, comments, concerns, things you want to sound off on, you know, shit, put that shit in the chat down below, and I will do my best to answer it. You know, I don't know shit about boxing, but I try my best. I try my best. So sometimes I be knowing, but sometimes I don't be knowing. So go ahead and ask. Great point. Don't go to Robert unless you want Mexican style. He wouldn't be a good trainer for Manny. That's what I'm saying. Like, imagine, like, let me see. Imagine, like, I don't know, Jaron Ennis with Robert Garcia. I got Vergil putting belt to ass on Boots. Shit, a lot of people are underestimating Vergil. Shit, that might happen. You might be correct. I asked a question and you didn't answer. Well, what was the question? He says, do you think true, I love Prentice Brewer, but do you think Tiger was less restrained last night without him? It's a great question, and that's a question I never really considered. I didn't even realize that last night when I was watching the fight. For those of you who don't know, Prentice Brewer, former fighter. I believe he's from Toledo, Ohio, or Cleveland, somewhere around there. He's trained a lot of guys in the Ohio area. He's normally Tiger Johnson's trainer, so last night he wasn't in the corner. Listen, I didn't make the observation, but yeah, that was the most explosive Tiger Johnson I've ever seen. And the thing is, he showed flashes of that early in his career, but not like last night. Last night it was different. Like last night he looked like one of the best welterweights in the world. You know? I'm a lady. I know. You made that abundantly clear yesterday. Thank you for your correction. Who am I betting on right now, Boots or Vergil? I don't know, man. I don't want to really answer that question because I feel like if I say Vergil, it'll be like recency bias because I just watched them bash up Lubin in 2 rounds. So I've gone back and forth many times. I think both guys have given me a lot of things to be worried about. So right now I don't have a prediction. I'm gonna be non-committal. Are you tired of Jamel Charlo talking without getting in the ring? Yes, because Jamel Charlo, he's supposed to be Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth, and he became the guy that's running his mouth, and he don't fight no more. So, yeah, I'm tired of him. Which fight are you most excited for from now to the end of the year? Definitely Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney, just because I love Brian Norman Jr. and what he represents for boxing. And I think if he does do what I think he's going to do to Devin Haney, he's going to become one of the next stars of boxing. And I think him becoming a star for boxing would be great for the sport. But outside of that, I would say probably Kenshiro Taraji fighting for the world title against Waldo Garcia, just because I'm a big Kenshiro fan. That fight, Stephen Fulton versus Oshaki Foster, and then Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz. You're right. He's a great trainer and can teach multiple things. But to BT's point, he'd be better training Joshua than say Fury, in my opinion. Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know, man. I've seen different ways trainers approach things. Like I see trainers that have their style, have their philosophies, and they're rigid and they don't change for nothing. And it's like that can work if you get the right fighter. But if you get a fighter, to me, the best boxing minds and the best boxing trainers that I've seen in my little experiences in boxing, they have a way of understanding, okay, I have a fighter who does A, B, and C very well, and they do A, B, and C not so well. How do we amplify A, B, and C, and then slowly but surely improve the other things so that there's less weaknesses, right? And I just feel like a great trainer can teach his fighter how to adapt to different styles. And that's why I'm saying, in my opinion, there's a lot of good trainers, but I don't think many trainers are truly great trainers. Like a great trainer is gonna know how to like he's gonna know how to help a fighter cut weight. He's gonna know how for a fighter to make adjustments. I mean, the best trainers I've seen, or one of the best, like the great trainers can see things that other people can't see. Like I had a trainer one time tell me, and it's one of the trainers that we've named in the segment, but I won't say who. I had a trainer tell me one time that he can tell how a fighter cuts weight just by how they sweat. Like he'll know when to pull, he'll know when to taper down their sparring just by how they sweat. And he gave me like this big breakdown, and I thought it was bullshit one day, and then I started seeing like examples of what he was talking about in the gym, and I'm like, damn, how the hell do you know this? It's crazy. Has there ever been a flawless fighter in your eyes? No, never. The closest thing, in my opinion, in my lifetime that I've seen to a flawless fighter was Floyd Mayweather, but even he had flaws. And I think Floyd was smart because Floyd didn't fight the kind of fighters that would like he fought great fight. Like I don't want to downplay his resume because his resume is great, and I'm a huge Floyd fan, and I think he's arguably the greatest boxer that ever lived, right? But Floyd knew certain guys to not give an opportunity to. Like he knew, don't go near Paul Williams. He knew, don't go near Winky Wright, because them guys had certain styles that would have been difficult for him to deal with. If you look at most of the guys that Floyd beat and had his biggest wins against, like Pacquiao, like a Cotto, like the majority of Floyd's greatest wins were against front foot dominant fighters, which allowed him to be, in his later years, the master counterpuncher that he grew to become, right? But yeah, like even he had flaws. No fault. Listen, that's why like I have such a low tolerance for dick riding fans, because a lot of dick riding fans, and there's no issue having your favorite fighters. Like I have my favorite fighters. Like right now, I want to make it abundantly clear: the 3 fighters in boxing that have single-handedly kept my love for the sport of boxing alive over the last 2 years are Angelo Leo, Brian Norman Jr., Kenshiro Taraji. If you were to remove those 3 fighters from the sport of boxing over the last 2 years, I'm probably not here talking to you guys about boxing, because those are the guys that I feel are doing a great job, and they get me really excited to watch fight. But I'm not blind. Like I can see their flaws. Like I know all of Angelo's. I know pretty much all of Angelo's flaws as a fighter. I know Brian Norman's flaws. I know Kenshiro's flaws. So yeah, like you can appreciate fighters, have your favorites, but you can't look at the fighter through your own rose-colored glasses all the time. It's like today, right? Today, I got into this big long argument with the Bam Rodriguez fan, because he's like a dick rider. Like he's a Bam Rodriguez dick rider. And Bam is a great fighter. Like, I like Bam, but he was just making it sound like Bam can't do no wrong. Like Bam didn't get his jaw broken by Christian Gonzalez. Like every fighter has flaws. And anybody that tells you, oh, well, this guy's unbeatable, nah, man. Every fighter's beatable. That sounds like what I say. All fighters are marketed and moved in a certain manner. Well, I mean, look. You got it's a double-sided coin, right? Because we all know how unforgiving the sport of boxing is, right? So let's look at both sides of the coin. If a fighter, we know how unforgiving people can be when a fighter loses a fight. So I want you to think about it like this. Every time you see a fighter in a fight, they're not fighting for that check they're receiving on that night, because the check that they're going to receive on that night, they're going to get it whether they win or they lose. So when a fighter gets into a fight, when they're in the ring, they're not fighting for that check. They're fighting for the next check. If they win, the pay grade goes up, the stock goes up. If they lose, the pay grade goes down, right? So if you're building a fighter, or if he's a champion, you want your fighter to keep winning and looking good. And these promoters, especially the top ranks of the world, they know their fighters' weaknesses, and they're gonna move them in a way that's gonna make them look as good as possible. And you know what? It's also necessary because, number one, fighters need to gain confidence, right? Confidence is a very, very important thing in boxing, and sometimes fighters don't have it early in their careers, and they need to, be matched a certain way to get confidence, so that they can then go win the big fights. You understand? So, yeah, a lot of boxing, most boxing fans are fickle, and they won't support the fighters if they lose. So it's important to move them very, very strategically. Now, what I'm against is consistently ducking some fights. Sometimes fights don't make sense. Sometimes it's not the right time. But I don't like when fighters consistently duck smoke, and there are a lot of those guys in boxing. I just saw Ellie Sabat tell Robert Garcia, Vergil should fight Earl Spence, 80,000 in Dallas Stadium, and Robert said it's a huge fight. Yo, there you have it. There you have it. I'm gonna tell you this: if Earl Spence and Vergil Ortiz fight, oh my God! I mean, I'm gonna sound like the most negative person in the world. I'm probably gonna sound like a hater to a lot of people. I'm gonna fry Vergil Ortiz so bad, because he already turned down Xander Zayas twice. He didn't want to fight Xander Zayas because Xander Zayas told him yes 2 times, and Golden Boy was never really serious about fighting. So if they avoid this fight that everyone wants to see now, to fight washed up, decrepit, witness protection Earl Spence, then I'm gonna have a problem with it, and I'm gonna be very, very loud and vocal and borderline disrespectful. So that's what it is. My man says, which fighters got you into the sport? That's a great question, man. I wouldn't say it was just one, because the first fight I ever watched was Bernard Hopkins versus Felix Trinidad when I was 6 years old. But I wouldn't say that was, like, Bernard wasn't the only guy, because then growing up, watching the Manny Pacquiao fights, watching Miguel Cotto. I would say, and Mayweather too, of course. So I would say those 4 guys, Hopkins, Pacquiao, Mayweather, Cotto. Those are the 4 guys. Because when I think about my earliest memories of boxing, those are the 4 guys that I see in my head. But since when do you care about Earl Spence's health? Listen, it's not a health thing. I'm just like, he doesn't want to box. Earl Spence does not want to box. So if he comes back, I already know he's coming straight for the money. Bomac is the greatest trainer. Bomac's an amazing. Bomac is in this discussion for being a great trainer. He trained Terrence Crawford from the ground up. So he's up there with, like, the Roberts and all the other great trainers we named earlier. Like, he's up there. You helped build Terrence from the ground up. Oh, you know what you're talking about. You know something. So I've been frying Vergil. They did Fundora. They said that said Fundora evaded Xander by dropping the belt to fight Zoo again. Yeah, he did. Xander wanted the fight. Peter Khan when Xander's manager was willing to make the fight, and they went a whole other direction. So people, like, it's crazy to me because everybody swears that Xander Zayas is this hype job protected by the machine. But last time I checked, Xander's the one that said yes to Vergil twice. Once when he wasn't a champion, once while he was champion. Vergil and Golden Boy didn't want to fight. Xander ran down on Fundura. Fundura went and fought Tim Tszyu. Xander just got the belt. People were criticizing Xander for this rumor that he was fighting Giovanni Santillan. He ain't fighting Giovanni Santillan. He's fighting Abbas Bro. His first title defense is a unification fight. And to top it all off, the kid's like 22 years old, 23 years old, something like that. What more do you want? What more do you want from him? He's doing what he needs to do. Yeah, a lot of people have been giving a lot of good reviews of Tubi. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not gonna cap. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know anything about Tubi. I don't know shit about Tubi, but everybody keeps saying that Tubi's good. And I think Top Rank has their own channel on Tubi where they play fights all the time. I think my boy Harold was telling me the other day that they were playing one of my favorite fights in history, Angelo Leo versus Bernardo Lopez. They're playing that fight there the other day on Top Rank Classes on Tubi. So shit, I might go download Tubi after I get off this live so I can come see what all the fuss is about. So I can go see what all the hooting and hollering is about. You know, we'll see, man. But yeah, let me see what fights next week. What's going to be the next fight for next week, guys? Because boxing right now. Let me see. What's the next fight next week? Who's fighting next week? Because I know we're 2 weeks we're 2 weeks away from Norman versus Haney, which is the fight that either I'm gonna come on here after the fight and be talking crazy, or I'm gonna be coming on here and saying a lot of I'm sorry. So hopefully I get a chance to talk crazy and Norman does his thing. But next week, oh man, next week we got, and I'll show you guys right here. So next week we got Ben Eubank, right? We got Ben Eubank, and we got Espinoza K guy. Now, you know what? I think next week I'm probably most excited about Espinoza K guy. I have a vested interest in that fight because I don't know if y'all can see. Hold on, I don't know if y'all can see. I'm wearing my jacket right now. Hold on. I'm gonna take it off. Like I got my Angelo Leo jacket on right now, the Team Leo jacket on right now. So, I'm very intrigued to see how Espinoza does because we want to fight him one day and beat the brakes off of him and show you guys that he ain't the best featherweight in the world. And I think in God willing, due time it'll happen. But we shall see. But yeah, K guy, he should beat K guy. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if y'all want to see one of the greatest true school rants of all time, let Espinoza lose that fight next week. Let Espinoza lose to the guy. Let Espinoza lose to the guy that lost to Joet Gonzalez, and watch how crazy I start talking. And I like Espinoza, so it's not really any slight on him. It's just that it's calm right now. But like when Angelo gets ready to fight, and I start getting on my like Angelo shit. People say some crazy shit to me, and like Angelo's one of my great friends. Like it's bigger than boxing. Like when Angelo's fat and old and isn't boxing anymore 40 years from now, we'll still be friends. Like it's deep, so it's personal. Every fight he has is personal. And truth be told, like I like Espinoza, but I don't think he beats Angelo. Like, he's not one of the featherweights I think could beat Angelo or would have a chance. What do you think about Kurt Scovey versus Adam Azim? I haven't thought too deeply about that fight. But I think it's a great redemption fight for Kurt Scovey. Kurt Scovey was a promising prospect not so long ago. Got beat up by Dakota Linger. I think it was Dakota Linger. And then, I guess he's been rebuilding since then. Small, stocky guy, can punch. I actually think style-wise, it's a good matchup because Azim, like many British fighters, he likes to operate from that mid-range. He likes to box and wait to counter you. I think Kurt Scovey will have a chance to fight his kind of fight against him. So yeah, why not? Why not put Adam Azim on a mild upset alert? Navarrete versus Nunez, who I think wins. Oh my God, that's gonna be a crazy fight. Give me in that fight, shit. I want to say Navarrete, but I don't know, man. I feel like at some point these wars got to catch up to him. He's been in some crazy fights. I'm gonna go with Nunez. I'm gonna go with Nunez slightly. I'm intrigued about that fight. Because first of all, I think stylistically it's one of the most interesting fights at 130 that could be made. And also, look, man, if Espinoza and Ball and we know Fulton ran to 130, like if all these guys at 126 don't want to give Angelo Leo an opportunity to unify the division, then you know what? Fuck it. Maybe that could be a fight that's looked into. Angelo going to 130 and fighting the winner of Nunez and Navarrete. I like our chances against either one of them. Especially if it's Navarrete. Yeah, the way they gassed up Ben versus Eubank at the first fight as a fight of the year contender was pure cringe. Ben versus Eubank one wasn't even that. I mean, it was a good fight. I'm not gonna say it wasn't a good fight, but like they made it sound like it was one of the all-time classics. I'm like, shut the fuck up. It's not even, no, stop. Like it's not even a top 3 fight of the year contender. I'm sorry. Like I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it wasn't one of the, like it was a good fight, but calm down. As far as somebody mentioned they want Bozy Ennis or Jack Catterall. Listen, man, I'm very intrigued. I think Jack Catterall is a good fighter. A lot of people don't give Jack Catterall the credit he deserves for being the fighter he is. I'm not sitting here saying he's a pound for pound level fighter, but like he gets a bad rap because everyone says he's boring, which to each his own. But I feel like he's had some interesting. He's had some fights where he's been exciting. Like when he fought Prograis, he was punching on shit when he fought Prograis. He was punching through the target, and I feel like I haven't had a chance to see Bozy Ennis work extensively in Philly. I mean, I went to his gym one time, so I don't have a grasp on what kind fully because I haven't seen him as much. But I have an idea what kind of trainer he is, and I think it's going to be a good fit for Catterall. He's going to have Catterall punching through the target because that's what they do in Philly. Do I think Katsuma Akisugi is a real contender at bantamweight? He's very underrated. Hell yeah, for sure. He's one of the realest contenders you could get in the sport right now because you got to look at it, right? Katsuma Akisugi is a Japanese fighter, but he didn't come up like a Japanese fighter. And what I mean by that is he didn't come up in the Japanese boxing system, right? So because he didn't come up in the Japanese boxing system, he was here in America. He didn't have a big name. He had a regular job, washing dishes, didn't speak no English, right? Turned pro in America, right? When I interviewed Katsuma Akitsuki back in August, and if you guys haven't checked that out, go check out my interview with Katsuma Akitsuki back in August. He said it himself. He said, "Look, my whole life is a training camp. I don't know what camp is because my whole life is training camp because, he had his first fight on Pro Box last year. I think that was like his 10th pro fight. So he's had about 4 fights on Pro Box, but his first 9, 10 fights of his career." A lot of those fights, he was coming in on 2 weeks' notice, 1 week's notice, 3 weeks' notice as the B side, and he wasn't always supposed to win those fights. And so, it's very hard to win, and it's very hard to build yourself as a fighter when you're constantly coming in that position. And the fact that he got this far already is an achievement within itself. Because I know so many fighters personally that have gone that route that Katsuma has to go through, and they don't come out the other side being able to make any sort of career for themselves in this sport. So God bless him. He's in a position now where he's going to be ranked. He gets knocked out Vincent Ashalabio last night in devastating fashion. Hell yeah, Katsuma Akitsugi is a beast. He obviously his punching power is not a world class like a 10 out of 10, but he's like an 8 or higher everywhere else on the board. Conditioning elite, footwork elite. Punch placement, elite. Jab, elite. Conditioning, elite. Discipline, elite. Like, apart from punching power, everything around him as a fighter is elite. So, yes, to answer your question, hell yeah, he's a contender. Sam Noakes versus Abdullah Mason. Who do you think wins? Very good fight. In my opinion, it's the second best fight on the entire card after Norman Haney. It's a dangerous fight because Sam Noakes is really punching like that. And Sam Noakes does have the power to sleep Abdullah Mason. Make no mistakes about it. Let there be no qualms about it. But I think Abdullah's reach and I think Abdullah's I think his speed and his reach are the two biggest determining factors in this fight. I think Sam has to be right in the pocket with you to really be his best self. I don't think he'll have those opportunities with Abdullah Mason to the degree that he needs to beat him. So I got Abdullah Mason winning a very, very tough fight. I think what I will say is this: I think Abdullah is going to get clipped once, and he may have to get up off the deck and stop Noakes. But I think he wins. I think he wins this fight in a mid-round stoppage. And honestly, I would say I think this fight's going to be a shootout. Best fight on the card for me by far. Second best fight on the card for me by far. I like that fight more than I like Benavidez Yard. I like that fight more than I like Bam versus Puma. A great fight. Which fight is making fight of the year so far, or will one of the upcoming fights possibly take fight of the year? That's always possible, but for me, my fight of the year has been signed, sealed, and delivered since March. And my fight of the year, and if you haven't watched it, I would advise you to go watch it. My fight of the year is Kenshiro Taraji versus Seigo Yuri Akui for the WBA flyweight title and WBC flyweight title. Great fight. One of the best fights I ever seen. And the crazy thing is, I knew it was going to be a great fight because I interviewed both those guys when I was out in Japan while they were training for that fight. So I knew from being around them, I'm like, yo, this is going to be a crazy fight. And it actually was even crazier than I thought it would be. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go ahead and go watch it if you haven't. It's one of those classics. The fight I want to see is Raymond Ford. Oh my God, that's gonna be a great fight. You know, two of the most skillful fighters at 130 getting it on. I love that fight, and I think Raymond Ford is he's gonna actually show up his best self for that fight because for the first time since Komatov, and if y'all was around for that build up, you know, I was on here on YouTube. I was the only person on YouTube really giving that fight the credit it deserved because I knew how good Oda Beck was from seeing him in the spar in the gym. And I know Ford was a good fighter as well. And that wound up being the 2024 fight of the year. And so I think this is the first fight since that fight where, you know, I can really, you know, talk my shit about, you know, Raymond Ford's opponent potentially beating him. And Raymond Ford, he watches True School Sports. So I know for a fact he going to see my videos, get pissed off, and go to the gym and be his best self. So we shall see. I don't know about round of the year, but I liked Seiya versus Daigo 2, round number 9. Oh my God. Round number 9 of that fight was crazy. That was a great round. Yeah, I gotta really sit here and think about the whole year. There's so many fights throughout the course of a whole year. When Inoue got dropped by Cardenas, that was a pretty good round. Yeah, like that's one of those fights. I was there. I went to that fight. I actually spent my hard-earned money to go to upstate New York, in the middle of nowhere in Verona, and I watched the fight, and it was great. One of the best fights I've ever been to live. Worth every penny. Crazy thing is, on that same card, Brian Norman Jr. found that card against Janelson Figueroa. I was there that night. Brian Norman didn't look so hot, you know. Isak Cruz, Hyro, that's a PBC classic. Isak Cruz versus Angel Fiera, that was another good one. So, I mean, look, there's still enough fights left in this year to take the spot, but it's gonna take something really special to dethrone what I saw from Kenshiro and Seigo Yuri Akui. You know, are you still high on Aoi Yokoyama? He's been looking very mid lately. I still have hope for the kid. I don't want to make any harsh judgments on him, but yeah, he looked like garbage his last fight. He hasn't had a stoppage since his pro debut. He's like 4-0 now with one knockout. So like, I'm still high on him. I still think he'll be champion. But he's went down in the pecking order. Like now, he's probably like number three or four as far as my like young Japanese fighters.
Number 1 is Yugo Osaki. I think he's the best Japanese fighter, young Japanese fighter there is. But I would say he's like 3 or 4. I mean, if Yanelson Figueroa was actually able to win some fights, maybe that could happen. But Yanelson Figueroa isn't even relevant. Like, he can't even get on. He can't even win fights to get in position to be there for a Brian Norman Jr. fight. Like, he's not even ranked. Like, Yanelson Figueroa has lost to Quentin Randall, who Brian Norman already beat. Like, Quentin Randall outpointed him, and then he lost to Tiger Johnson. So, like, nah, man. Like, Yanelson Figueroa, he's not even on the radar, unfortunately. You gotta get in the win column. Dog wants to know, how has Yuga been? That's a great question. I haven't heard from Yuga in like 2 weeks. I messaged him like 2 weeks ago. I messaged him 2 weeks ago. Didn't respond to me. I don't really want to comment too much right now. For him, I want this year to just end. Because I won't say we, but more mainly him. He had a rough training camp out there in the Bay Area, and things didn't really go his way. So hopefully a better 2026. I feel like, you know what, if he goes in there, if the powers that be just do right by him and get him the fights, there's not one light flyweight in the world that I think would beat him. I don't want to say it like that. There's not one light flyweight in the world that I'm not confident Yugo Osaki can't beat. So, I mean, Canizales, Takami, name them. I think Yugo could beat them all. You know? What do I think about Matias versus Dalton Smith happening? Oh my God, it's a good fight. Dalton Smith. I mean, I gotta watch more film. I think both fighters might get. I think both fighters are going to get hurt in this fight. So it's really going to be a matter of who, outlast the opponent. But we'll see. I got Matias by, I'm going to say, late round stoppage. But guys, look, on that note, that's my time for today. I don't want to make it too long. It's already like 2 a.m. And I do want to go live again tomorrow night. So listen, we appreciate everyone for stopping by and talking boxing with me. Thank you guys for all the support. We're closing in on 89,000 subscribers. So, I'm really appreciative for all the support this year. Like, it's been a really challenging year for me, man. Like, probably the most challenging year of my entire life covering boxing by far. Being in multiple training camps, having to move once, just all kinds of stuff, just a lot of stuff, man. And God has blessed me immensely. So thank you guys so much for all the support and making this really fun for me and rewarding. And we're to close the year strong. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next live. So God bless, take care. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys.